Hi, I'm Grace. This is Bird by Bookish Bird, and this is the beginning of a weekly bookish reading vlog. I am excited about the books that I have to read this week. I just finished Honey and Spice by Bolu Babalola. Exquisite. 5 out of 5. It was funny, it was sexy, it was like a romp. I loved it. So highly recommend that one if you're looking for a romance to dig into. I am currently halfway through Solito by Javier Zamora, and this is really, really good. This is a memoir. It is about Javier's journey from El Salvador to California. And he was only 9 when he made that journey, and it is a long and winding road, metaphorically and literally, and he goes through a lot. So it's definitely it's heart-wrenching and very sad, but also hopeful. So I'm about halfway through that. I am also, my next book I'm going to pick up, my next fiction book is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, another romance I got from the library. Shout out to your local library. And this I know is about my general impression of this is it's about 2 writers that had a fling for a week for 7 days in June. And ever since then, they've been subtly writing about each other in their books. And I think this is them coming together after all that time. I am also, for the Trans Rights Readathon, reading the audiobook Detransition Baby by Tori Peters. This one is really good. It's there's a lot of dynamics going on here. There are a lot of complicated characters, and I'm really enjoying it. The cover is gorgeous, and I've always been interested because of the cover, and it is providing some really fascinating human stories and complexities, and I'm really enjoying that. So stick around if you're interested in any of that. We're going to do a little working. We're going to do a little napping. We're going to do a little of this and that. We're going to go to a soccer game. It's going to be a good time. So yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Ah!
That's hard to say. He shoved him to the ground.
Woo! Ah! Oh my god.
Take it.
Ah! Oh!
Oh wow.
Where am I? What am I doing?
You're the boy now.
Okay, word. Ooh! Boys, reset! Oh, sprinting!
See, oh my god, I'm so offsides. It's at this point.
Crossing. Get it! Where am I on this field? Oh my god. Okay. Okay, go!
Did you pass it, or was that? I didn't think so.
No.
Alright.
Tangled up with that guy.
Set it up.
Whoa! Lord have mercy! And all right. Oh my god, it's me. Oh my god, it's me. Oh my god. Go! Okay, good morning. I've finished some books. This morning I finished Solito and I cried. What an incredible memoir. It must have been so hard to write. It's just unbelievable what he went through and what so many people go through to find a better life and pursue a different life in hopes of actually being able to thrive. It's just it's unbelievable. And so by the end of it, I had a good cry. I would highly recommend it. It was amazing. Yesterday I finished the audiobook of Detransition Baby. This one was pretty wild. I don't think it was for me, but I'm glad that I was able to participate in the Trans Rights Readathon. It follows 3 characters, kind of this triad of characters. So it's all about really, really complex character relationships, the relationship to the self and one's, sexuality and gender, and I would not say this is like for somebody seeking a like baseline education, and that's not to say that I'm like an expert on like the queer community, because I'm not. It is just like I said, it's just like very complex. And so if somebody was wanting like introductory perspective on the trans experience, I don't know if I would recommend this one, but I am glad I read it. The audiobook was good. And yeah, so that's that. Now I'm on to 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. And since I concluded Solito, I think I'm going to dive into the 1619 Project, because I do have the audiobook for this one. Now this is pretty thick, and I think I have the audiobook for 2 weeks more. So we'll see if I'm able to get through with it. But I'm really thrilled because I have made a serious dent in my spring TBR, and it's only March, so I'm really proud of myself for that. Trying to read, even though I just went to the library, trying to read more nonfiction, more books that I own is what I was trying to say. Trying to read more books that I own. And after I finished 7 Days in June, which, can I just say, listening to the audiobook the same time you're like physically reading the book, incredible, an amazing reading experience. And I feel like I'm able to read faster and with more focus, because like I'm receiving the information in like 2 different ways. And so like I can speed up the audiobook a little bit more to like match my reading pace. But because I'm like hearing everything, I'm not like getting tripped up on like words or sentences or like how something would be said. So it's like so much smoother. So thankfully, for all the books that I like have right now or am interested in reading, I have audiobooks. So another book, I have 2 other books besides 7 Days in June that I've checked out from the library that I want to read. It's Friday, by the way. So the weekend's coming, so we're going to get a lot of reading done. So I had Honey and Spice 7 Days in June. I also checked out All My Rage by Saba Tahir. And then I have Gods of Jade and Shadow by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. And those, I want to read those 2 as well. So making my way downtown, I'm walking fast, faces pass, and I am homebound. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at, a little update. I am going to finish work today. We are meeting with some friends tomorrow to watch a women's soccer game. And then tomorrow night, we are going in person to the men's soccer game. So that'll be really fun. And then Sunday will just be a chill day full of reading. And yeah. Okay, so it's Saturday. We just woke up from a nap. We went to watch the women's soccer game with some new friends that we've recently made, and that was really fun. I didn't get any footage, but that's okay. We're gonna go to the men's soccer game in like an hour, so I am gonna try and get some footage of that. But what I did want to share is that I finished 7 Days in June by Tia Williams, and this was another great romance. I listened to this one almost exclusively on audiobook, and it was just like a great experience. I'm just like really into audiobooks right now. I'm like having a moment. Also, I'm kind of understanding now how some people like read so many books, because you can really tear through. I mean, I read 7 Days in June in like less than 24 hours. So audiobooks are just great for that. So yeah, so all that to say is I thought the narrator did a really great job. And yeah, 7 Days in June was really beautiful. I wouldn't call it a rom-com. It's more of like romance / like women's fiction, I guess. But there's definitely some heavy topics there. So I would check the content warnings. And then depiction of like chronic illness, which I thought was, I mean, I don't have chronic illness, so my understanding is limited, but I thought that the representation was really good. And loved the characters, loved their dynamic. It was sexy, which I didn't think it was going to be at first, but it was. And the main character, Eva, she has a daughter, Audrey, who is really, really fun and written really well. So it was just really good. It jumped back and forth between like present day and the 7 Days in June when they were younger. And yeah, it was just a great book. So it's a pretty popular book, and it was like a Reese's Book Club book. and I've been meaning to read it for a while, and I finally got around to it, and I'm really glad I did. So once that finished, I've picked up another library book that I'm trying to read before it's due, and that is Gods of Jade and Shadow by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. And I'm only 42 pages in. I have also been listening to the audiobook while I read this one. So far, it's set in Mexico in the 1920s, which I think is a really cool setting. Cassiopeia basically summons a god of the dead, and he like charges her with a mission. Like they have to go find some things. And so they've started doing that. So it did not take long for the action to begin. And so that's all I knew about the book going into it. So from here on out, it's all going to be new to me. I think the pacing is a little interesting so far. It's kind of happening at like breakneck speed sort of right now. Like within pages, she like summoned the god, met the god. The god immediately said, hey, we have to go on this quest. And she was like, okay. And then they went on a quest, like they started their quest all in 40 pages. So I don't know, but what I am loving is the Mexican mythology element. I think that's very cool. And I've said this before on my channel, but I really want to, on top of diversify my reading, I really want to diversify the mythology that I consume, because I really love Western and Greek mythology, but I think there's just so many more, there's just more than that in the world. And I'm keen to read more about it. So that's where I'm at. We don't have anything on the docket for tomorrow, so I am planning on doing nothing but reading. And yeah, that's it.
He set this up himself.
Hi, quick update. We lost last night, so I did not grow up enjoying sports, and so as an adult, I am learning how to not take losing personally or trash talk personally. So that is something I'm working on in myself. But more importantly, I am gonna DNF Gods of Jade and Shadow. I am affirmed in the fact that the mythology is very interesting to me, and I want to read that more, maybe in a more nonfiction sense. I just don't think Sylvia Moreno Garcia is for me. Mexican Gothic was just so, and her writing is just so straightforward, and I like a little flourish. I like a little flowery, and so it's just not hitting for me, and I don't want to spend time reading a book I don't enjoy. So yeah, I'm not sure what book I'm gonna start instead. I might do the Books of Jacob, because I just bought that one and it's really calling my name. So I'll let you know what I decide. Dang it. Boop. That didn't work. Okay, hi, it's Monday morning. I'm about to log into work. I did end up starting the Books of Jacob. I'm about 15% of the way through. I am really glad that I have the audiobook for this, which I got from my local library using the Libby app, because it is translated from Polish. And so all the names are Polish. And I don't have any familiarity with that language or how things would be pronounced. And so it has been very helpful for me to not get tripped up on the names by hearing them as I'm reading them. Audiobook is really good. It's helping me kind of stay steady with the book. It is, as I said, it is also set in Poland in the 1700s. I don't know if it's technically Poland at that time in history, but it's set in that area. There was a map at the beginning that I had a hard time understanding, so I just kind of kept moving. And I know from the back of the book that eventually the book follows kind of a charismatic leader who basically forms a cult that moves all over Eastern Europe. And I know his name is Jacob, and we have only now 15% of the way into the book gotten like references to Jacob. We haven't met him yet in person, but people are starting to talk about him. I will say, so this very much follows the Jewish community in the like hamlet or village that we're in. There is a lot of anti-Semitism in this book. So if that is going to be hard for you to read or harmful to you, I would not recommend this one. But I am enjoying the writing a lot. I think the translator did a great job. It is very readable aside from like the language barrier, I guess. So I'm excited about that. I'm actually, okay, so I'm reading the 1619 Project, which is great. I'm basically tackling like a chapter a day. I've got the audiobook for that. It is so far not only educational but very accessible. That's been really good. Got the books of Jacob. So I think 1619 Project, I think, is like, aside from the notes section, which is pretty extensive, I think it's around like 400 pages. Then I've got the books of Jacob, which is 900 pages. Then I've got the Count of Monte Cristo, which I've pretty much taken a break from, but it's 1200 pages. Then I'm also reading Take a Hint, Danny Brown, kind of in between, just like a little bit here and there, just for sort of like a palate cleanse, like something easy to read that's really fun. And then I'm also rereading Bird by Bird, which is where I get my channel name, by Anne Lamott. And it's a book about, the subtitle is A Book on Writing and Life. So it's writing advice that also applies to life. So I would like to read the excerpt where Bird by Bird comes from. So I'm gonna kind of read the portion before it a little bit, and then you'll obviously know when we get there. Okay. E.L. Doctorow once said that writing a novel is like driving a car at night. You can only see as far as your headlights, but you can make the whole trip that way. You don't have to see where you're going. You don't have to see your destination or everything you will pass along the way. You just have to see 2 or 3 feet ahead of you. This is right up there with the best advice about writing or life I have ever heard. I also remember a story that I know I've told elsewhere, but that over and over helps me get a grip. 30 years ago, my older brother, who was 10 years old at the time, was trying to get a report on birds written that he'd had 3 months to write, which was due the next day. We were out at a family cabin in Bolinas, and he was at the kitchen table close to tears, surrounded by binder paper and pencils and unopened books on birds, immobilized by the hugeness of the task ahead. Then my father sat down beside him, put his arm around my brother's shoulder, and said, "Bird by bird, buddy. Just take it bird by bird." And that almost makes me cry every time I read it, but that story just really, really resonates with me. I have like a bird tattoo. It just really means a lot to me. What I will say about Anne Lamott, as I reread it, Anne Lamott is like that aunt who, when she was younger, was like very progressive for her time and was like very ahead of the curve, like ideology wise. But now that she's older, she kind of is still holding on to some of those of like more antiquated ways of thinking. So there's a ton of wisdom in here and there's a lot of good stuff, but there's also some things she says that are like, ooh, make me wince a little bit. And so if you're interested in reading Anne Lamott, I would recommend it, but I would also go into it really bracing yourself that she is like an imperfect person. And because she is so transparent and honest in her writing, and a lot of it is autobiographical, that you also get like the messy parts of her. And sometimes she does say like slightly offensive things. Yeah, so just like a heads up, something she says, you're like, oh, where did that come from? But for the most part, I think her heart is in the right place. And she's got a lot of really good wisdom. And if you're interested in writing, especially writing a novel, this book is really good and inspiring for that. Even if you don't want to write a novel, if you want to write, I find that reading this book after I've read a chapter, I'm like, oh my gosh, I am like itching to write now. So yeah, I think that's like 5 books in my currently reading stack right now. But I'm really enjoying all of them, and I don't feel pressure to finish them in any particular order. Yeah, I'm just feeling good about my reading right now. So I do think I'm gonna wrap up the vlog here, since I know I'm not gonna finish another book like in the next couple of days. I wanna thank you for watching and coming along for the ride. This has been fun, and I will hopefully see you in my next one. Take care.